Hey everyone, and welcome to Isms by Josie. Today we're going to be doing another snack knit kit that I got from Five Below, doing the bread and butter. For my returning subscribers, thank you so much for tuning in. And for my new viewers, please consider subscribing, share, hit that like button, leave a comment below, and click on that notification bell for future videos. So today, you guys, I've got another snack knit kit. I've had this, but this is actually a viewer request. So we're gonna do this for you today. Inside the box, it comes with the stuffing, the facial features, which are felt stickers. We have the pad of butter, which is a sticker, a needle, 2 knitting needles, and then we have 2 spools of yarn. We also have an instruction booklet. So here you have a little pouch which contains the stuffing, the 2 knitting needles, the pad of butter, and the little facial features, and a little sewing needle. So I'm going to put these in here. We'll use this later on. And then we have the 2 little spools of yarn here, and then we have the booklet of instructions. So these videos that I'm doing are just a supplement to the instructions. You can get these snack knit kits at Five Below, either in stores or online. I actually got mine online. So I will be going over each step at least 3 times if it's a new stitch, and then I will be going through each line of instructions. But like I said, if I don't show everything, this is just a supplement to the instructions to help you start the project. But yeah, everything that you'll need is in this little instruction booklet. Okay. So let's get straight into this. I like these little cute books. It comes with illustrations and how to do the stitches. I am going to do this in righty. So if you are a lefty, comment below and make the request. I will add that to my list. Okay. So what we're basically doing is an 18-inch tail. When we cast on our stitches, we're casting on 12 stitches of cream yarn. We're going to do about 12 rows until we have a 3-inch 3-inch by 3-inch rectangle and cast off, and then repeat to make 2 squares. So I'm making 2 of these. Let's see, make a slip knot, 6-inch tail, cast on 3 tan yarn, and along a 10. Okay. All right. So I don't know. Let's see how many parts we can do in this video. So let's start with the. They're calling this the cream yarn, and I like to go inside here and pull out yarn that I'll need, and it'll come out messy at first, but that's okay because we will end up using this. I pull from the inside so that this stays put. If you pull it from the outside, it's going to roll everywhere. Okay, so the booklet is very helpful because it measures out. It has a little ruler here. So I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to measure up. We need 18 inches. So 5, 10, 15, and then 18. Okay. So we have that. Let me show you guys how to make your first loop to put onto your needles. So with your index and thumb pinching where the 18th inch tail is, we're also going to take our ring finger and middle finger, and we're just going to hold this about this ways apart. Then I'm going to take my index, middle, and thumb here. We're going to work a little loop. So you can do this different ways here. I'm going to go index and middle finger underneath the yarn like this. Okay, then this is holding it loose, this is holding it stationary. So what you're going to do is pull. You see how that it's pulling here? You want to pull this up, and then you want to use your two fingers to kind of twist it into a little loop like this. Okay, then you want to take your index and middle finger and pinch this. Okay, so you see here, twist. We're going to go in here and pinch this, and then we're going to pull. We're going to let go of our middle and ring, and we're going to pull this through the loop like that. And then what you want to try to do is close this little loop by pulling onto either this end, well, I guess this end of the yarn, and you want to pull it down close to your thumbnail so you can get close to that 18 inches. And when you do this, you're going to notice your knot is becoming smaller. And once you get to a point where you can't push it down anymore, don't force it. We're going to put our needle through this loop, and then what you're going to do is pull not the tail end that you're pinching onto, but this one. We're going to pull this closed so that it's not too tight. You want to have a little bit of a gap here, but that's how you do your simple and easy cast on. Okay, so now make sure that you separate your tail end, which is this end. This end needs to be on the left, and your feeder yarn that's connected to your spool should stay on the right. Grab your other needle. We're going to hold with our left hand this needle. Again, make sure you have your strands facing the right way, so the tail end goes left, the feeder yarn goes right. What we're going to do is you want to stick your needle through the gap right here. So you want your needles to face the same way, going through this little loop. So now you have two needles onto your little loop here. So position wise, you always have your needles in the left hand and right hand. The left hand needle goes on top, the right hand needle goes on bottom. So it's still in this loop. I'm just making an X, and I'm making sure that my left needle is on top, my right needle is on the bottom. So now I can grab my feeder yarn. Just make sure you still don't confuse your tail yarn from your feeder yarn. We're going to wrap the feeder yarn around your finger like this. Okay. Then we have our needles crossed. What we're going to do now is whenever we do a knit stitch, you want your yarn to be behind your needles. So you have your left needle on top, your right needle in the middle, and then you have your feeder yarn in the back. So let's flip this upside down so you can see all angles what this looks like. All right, so now we're going to do a knit stitch to cast on a stitch. So what you're going to do is we're going to take the yarn here, we're going to go back to forward and slide down. Okay, so you want to slide it all the way down till you get past this little intersection. Naturally, your needles will, you want to keep your needles touching so that it holds this yarn in place here. So let me show you that one more time. So you want to take your yarn and go from back to front and down. You'll hear a little snap or feel a little snap. So now what we're going to do is we have to pull this strand through this loop. And how we do that is you want to keep your needles touching, and you want to use the taper of your needle to pull through the loop. So let's show it on this angle. All right, I'm sliding my right needle down, and I'm going to push that little tapered needle through this loop so that I can pull it through like that. So once you get to this point, you just move this loop onto this needle. So you take your left needle, you put it through the loop, and then you pull away with this right needle so that now you have 2 stitches onto your needle. So now we just have to do 10 more of these. So again, instead of the first one, now we're going to go into the second one you just made, and you want to slip your right needle through the loop like we did before, and you want to cross your needles, keeping them touching. And then for your feeder yarn, you want to go from back to front to down. Feel that little snap. Alright, so now that we're here, let's look at it this way. So you want to take this tapered needle and pull it through the loop. So pull that strand through the loop like that. So here we are. And now we're going to move this loop over to this needle. So you take your left needle, you stick it through that loop, and then you lift it off from your right needle. So now you have 3 on here. Right, so let me show you how to do this one more time, you guys. Again, stick your needle through the same loop that this needle's in, the last one we just made. Cross your needles. Then for your feeder yarn, you go back to front and down. Feel it snap. And then we're going to take this tapered needle and pull it through this loop, making sure you drag that. And I didn't, so you can go back, pick it up, make sure that your needles are always touching. And then so now we're going to push this tapered needle through the loop and make sure we drag that yarn through. Okay, and then we're going to slip it off the right needle by taking the left needle, picking it up, and slipping it off. So now we have 4 of these. So now you just have to do 8 more. I'm going to go normal pace now. And there is another way to do this if you don't want to do this with your needles. When we do this second piece, I don't show the whole thing, but I'll show you the beginning how you can cast on. But this is a good way to learn. These are your tools. You're using it all the time. You might as well learn how to cast on needles with your needles. Some people do the I don't know what it's called. I'm just gonna call it the finger method. See, we have here 4, 5, 10, 1 and 2. All right. So after you have your first 12 stitches on here, then we can complete the next round, and I'll show you how to do that. So if you are righty, the loops on your stitches, if they are on your left, then you have this many stitches to make. If they end up on your right, that means you have completed all these stitches. But we haven't done that yet, but I'll show you. So now to do your first stitch on your next row, you want to stick your needle into the last stitch that we made, same way that we've been doing to cast on. So cross your needles, go from back to forward and down, keep your needles touching, and then we're going to pull that loop through this one. And instead of casting off this needle, we're going to cast off the left needle. So what you want to do when you're at this point now, keep your loop onto your right needle, but this one here that we just used, you want to lift that one off the left needle. Okay, just that one, just like that. So it's going to look like this. Oh, that's looking weird. That's okay. All right, stick your right needle into the next stitch down here, the way that we did before. Cross your needles. Your feeder yarn is going to go from back to forward and down, and then you're going to keep your needles touching, and I'm going to pull that yarn through the loop. And then again, we're not going to slip off the right needle. We're going to slip off this one on the left needle, like that. So now here's what it's looking like. So anytime you pick one up here, you're going to gain it here and lose it here. So let's do this again. Stick your hook into the next stitch down here, cross your needles, right? Take the feeder yarn, go back and front and down. Then with your right needle, pull that yarn through the loop, and then we're going to lift this loop off the left hook, like that, or left needle, sorry. So we should still have 12 at this point. We have 3, 6, 6, 9, 12, sorry. Alright, so now we just have to continue all the way down, and I'm going to do this at normal pace. Alright, so now that we have completed the second row, we find ourselves with all our stitches on our right needle, and then our left needle is empty. So this is what it should look like if you've completed your stitches for that row. So to do the next row, we're going to flip this and switch it to our left hand and switch this naked needle onto our right hand. So now we have stitches on our left side again and none on our right side, which means we have to start our next round. So we're going to do this again. You just stick into that last loop there, back to forward, and pull through the loop and slip off. So it's the same thing, you guys. And the more times you do this, the easier it's going to get. And then the faster you're going to be able to do this. And this is why I enjoy knitting, because you can sit and watch a movie for however minutes long it is and just go back and forth doing the knit stitch. This is all by feel. I may look down every now and then, but once you get used to it, you don't even have to look at it. And that's the best thing I like about knitting. Okay, so let me gather up some yarn here. I'm going to do this one more round with you guys, and then I'm going to do the rest in silence. So it's the last stitch we made here. Yarn back to front and down. Keep your needles touching and pull through that loop and slip off the left needle. All right. So I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but if you need to speed up or slow down the video, click on the gear button in the corner of your screen. There'll be playback options to go fast or slow. If you do not need to hear me speak, you can lower the volume on your device and then click on the CC closed caption button. And once again, I now have all my stitches on my right hand. So I'm going to flip this to get ready for another row, but this is basically what it's going to look like. So to how I count the rows, so you have to do 12. Each time you go back and forth is considered one round, and you can tell that by, and I know it's a little too bright here, but if we flip this where we left, how we started, okay, you see how you have a loop here and a loop down here, and it kind of staggers. It's a staggering pattern. That was us going one way and then going the other way. So I would consider that as one row. Now the thing about knitting, and especially crocheting, is when they say 12 rows, you can do 12 rows, but they also said 3 inch by 3 inch. So that's why they provide you the ruler in their booklet, which I think is amazing, because even if you count off 12 rows, your version of 12 rows might not equal 3 inches, because either your stitches are too tight or your stitches are too loose. So when it says a row count number, you want to take it with a grain of salt, just because they also give you a size dimension. Now typically I ignore that stuff, but but since we're making 2 of these pieces of toast sides, we need it to line up and match so that we can end up sewing everything together. So you want to make sure that the size dimension is close, and irregardless of the row count. Okay, so hopefully that helps you, but I'm going to continue doing my 12 rows and or a 3-inch rectangle, as they say. I mean, technically it is a rectangle, but you can call it a square. But anyways, I'm going to be doing the rest in silence. Okay, so I have almost about 3 inches and I'm on my last row here. So I'm going to show you how to cast off. So what we're going to do is we're going to knit 2 stitches. So do it how we've been doing it, just knit 2 stitches onto your right needle. All right, and then once we're here, we're actually going to take our left needle, we're going to pick up the first needle that we did, and we're going to pull it off of the right needle over the second stitch. You don't want to lose the second stitch. So we just lifted that first one and put it over the second one. So now you're going to knit again, just knit 1 this time. Okay, like that. And then now we're going to do the same thing. Pick up this stitch and we're going to cast it off over the second stitch. All right, so then we're going to do this again. Knit 1 stitch off the left of the needle, and then we're going to lift this one here off the right needle, and we're going to pull it all the way off that needle, keeping the last stitch on here. Okay, so you just keep doing this down the line until you run out of stitches, like this. Okay, this is actually a tiny square too, so we're going to have a really cute sized piece of toast. I think these kits are so adorable. I am going to be doing a booklet of snacks, veggies, some treats, all in crochet. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and click the notification bell so you don't miss a video. And then of course for that one I'm going to leave the Amazon link for that so you can get it in advance. But like I said, these ones were purchased on the Five Below website. So we did all that till we got to the last stitch here. Now it looks like we're just gonna weave in this side because we have seemingly our sewing tail because it's 18 inches long. So what we're gonna do is cut this off. Okay. Then we're going to, if you have a crochet needle, that would be great, but what we're going to do is yarn over. So just put the yarn over this right needle and we're going to hold it with our middle and index, and then I'm going to try to lift this loop over this yarn over. Okay, lift it off the needle, and then I'm going to pull this needle out, pulling that yarn out. All right, so then we can tighten up this loop we made, and then you can take your needle and I'm going to weave in those ends so we can hide it. Just thread the needle. I'm not going to tie it, I'm just going to fold it over, and I'm just going to zigzag. Let's zigzag on the side here. So just continue doing that. Okay, and we're going to pull this through all the way out. Like that. And then I'm just going to cut this a little shorter. You can still weave it all the way around, but I'm not going to go that crazy. Okay, so we have our first side. So we're supposed to do 2. I'm going to do the second one off camera. Alright, so since we're still using this color, okay, we're going to do the other 2 rectangular pieces. So it says we need a 13-inch tail. So I'm going to measure out 13 inches. 5, 10, 13 inches. Okay. And then I'm going to show you to cast on. So keep this end pinched. We're going to take our middle and ring and hold it apart. Keep this end loose. I'm going to take my index and ring finger and we're going to pull up and create a loop like this. And then with the index and middle finger, I'm going to grab this yarn and I want to pull it through that loop. Okay, and once we're here, we're going to start pulling the yarn to make a knot, and we want to keep it as close to the thumb as possible. Keep pushing that knot down until it's taut. Okay, you won't be able to push it down anymore. Then you can take your knitting needle, stick it through the loop, and then we're going to tighten up the loop by pulling on the feeder yarn. Right, pull it to where you have a little bit of a gap there. All right, and then for this one, we're going to cast on 9 stitches, and then we're going to knit about 3 rows until you have a rectangle that's 1 inch by 2 inch, and we're going to cast off. Okay, so slip your needle into this loop, and then we're going to cast on 9 stitches. Oh, let me show you actually how to do it without the needle. Okay, so there is a way to do this without having to use the other needle. What you can do is we're going to take the yarn here, right? We're going to, again, with the middle and index finger, you want to twist your yarn. So we're going to twist it like that. I guess you don't need your index, but you kind of do. Anyway, we're going to twist the yarn to make this loop, and this is going to go in the front and the tail end of this is going to go in the back. All right, and we're just going to twist that and put that over the hook and pull. Okay, and then we're going to keep doing that. So twist this, make your loop. See how that is? This is in the front, this is in the back. Slip onto your hook. One more time, you guys. So twist your yarn, make a loop. This goes in the front, this part's in the back, and then you just slip it on. So you can throw these up. We have 4 in here. We're going to do this 5 more times. And then, of course, the more you do these, the more faster it is. You can get it done. It's up to you which way you want to do it, how you want to cast on. 5, 8, 9. I prefer doing the needles because it's already there when I do my next row. Alright, so rule of thumb for rows, each row is, like I said, a back and forth, so you can count that as kind of like a 1 or a half. So you just need to go back and forth 6 times to make a row. And I say that lightly because also the way you knit, you want to also measure it against the ruler, because maybe 6 times will be too big for you. But anyway, whatever it is, you want to make them match because we're doing 2 of each. Alright, So now we're going to do our next row, and we're just going to do this in silence, you guys. So let me just get through to this row here. It is going to react different from how we did it with the needles. You see how there's a huge gap now. Don't freak out, just trust the process and keep knitting. And it'll turn out okay. All right, so I got this first round down, and I'm going to continue the rest in silence. All right, I finished. This is a very tiny piece. Okay, so we finished this, and I'm going to show you how to cast off again because we only did it that one time. So hopefully this second time will be good enough. But we do have one more piece after this, so I'll be able to do 3. Like I said, I like to show things 3 times so that you can pick it up. But anyway, we're going to do a knit on the first stitch. And I have nothing on my fingers right now. I don't know why I did that. So at least now you can see like how some people do it, where they don't even hold it. They do it one by one, which is fine too. But anyway, so we're going to knit this, and then we're going to knit another one. You want to knit 2 stitches. I just like to go by fast. So but anyway, once you knit the 2 stitches, we're going to take the first one that we did, and we're going to lift it up off the needle over the second stitch, like that. And then we're going to knit again. Okay, then we're going to lift this stitch over the last stitch we made, like that. Knit one again. and then take this stitch here and lift it up over and off the needle like that. And we're just going to keep doing this until all the stitches are off your left needle. Okay, and once we are in our last piece here, let me do this again. I feel like this loop maybe is just too big. Yeah, it's just too big. That's why it looks weird. All right, and then we're going to do the same thing. You can cut this. And we're going to yarn over and then take this stitch and lift it up over the yarn over and pull that all the way out. Tighten up your loop there. Thread up your needle. And we're just gonna weave in and out of the project. Okay. All right, so now we have these two pieces. Again, I am going to do the second pair of the second one of each one of these off camera, but now we're going to skip over to the edges. So this one is rolled up differently, so I won't be able to do maybe I can try to pull it in from the inside, but it's still gonna be all tangly. So yeah, not too fond of spools that are like this, but anyways. All right, it says we're going to do a 6-inch tail and do 3 stitches. So let's get our 6-inch tail. Keep it pinched. I'll show you how to cast on to your needle one more time. So hold it apart with your ring and middle finger. Keep this loose, keep this tight. Going to twist this and then pull that feeder yarn through the loop, and then we're just gonna push the knot down towards the left thumb and then stop once you hit your thumb or the knot's too tight. We're going to stick our needle in here, pull the feeder yarn, leave a little gap. Okay, stick your other needle in, keep your tail to your left, feeder to your right, and then we're going to cross our needles. We have to do 3 stitches. So knit 3 stitches, 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3. And then it says knit along a skinny strip that is 0.75 inches by 13 inches long. So we're going to keep doing this tiny row. The same thing, it's just 3 stitches, so it's very tiny. We're just going to keep doing that till we get to 13 inches, and then we're going to cast off. And I'll be doing this in silence. Okay, so I just about have 13 inches here. I'm going to fasten off. So how we do that is you're going to knit 2 stitches, 1, 2, and this will be a quick one because there's only 3 stitches on here. And then we're going to take the first stitch and lift it over the second stitch off the hook. Then we're going to knit another stitch on the left needle, and then we're going to lift this stitch over the last stitch we made off the needle, and then we have our side to sew on here. So I think we're just going to cast off. We're going to fasten off. By yarning over, and then we're going to lift this last stitch here over the yarn over, and wait, I'll have to do that again. It's very tiny. Okay, lift the last stitch here over the yarn over, and then pull all the way out, tighten up that loop, and then take the needle. And we're all going to sew this into the toast together, so you can also hide it that way. But we're going to weave this to the top here just to get it started. Okay. And I'm going to sew this hidden because it's too short. It's going to pop out. So, but we have our edging here. So here we have our pieces, you guys. Like I said, I'm going to do this side, this rectangle, and this rectangle off camera, the second one. But this is what we have so far. Comment below, let me know how it went. Let me know if you like knitting. I know knitting is really different from crocheting, but once you get the hang of it, I find it really fun. It's also good on your mental and motor skills there. I remember reading an article, it's good for prevention and memory loss, stuff like that. So because it keeps your mind going, it's a good thing to keep along with reading. But anyway, so that's it. We'll do a part 2 video sewing everything together, so that'll be a short video. But thank you so much, you guys, for watching. This is Isms by Josie. Please share, like, and subscribe for future videos, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks. Bye.